If you want to start your own business, where are you going to get the ideas of starting it up? And which best practices you will follow to guarantee its success? Welcome to International Strategic Management. Today, we're going to talk about the different strategy and competitive dynamics of entrepreneurship. New technologies, shifting social and demographic trends, and changes in the business environment create opportunities for entrepreneurship. New ventures, which often emerge under such conditions, and small businesses, which are a major engine of growth in the country economy, must rely on sound strategic principles to be successful. Effective strategies are needed to enter new markets and overcome intense competition from rivals who are threatened by new entrants. This chapter addresses how entrepreneurial firms create new value, achieve competitive advantages, and combat competitive rivalry. The chapter is divided into three major sections and aims to understand and familiarize its concept. The first section examines the role of opportunity recognition in the new value creation process. The second section addresses entrepreneurial strategies. It will cover the three different types of new entry strategies like pioneering, imitative, and adaptive. The third section addresses competitive dynamics. The entry of competitors into a competitive arena often evokes a cycle of actions and responses. Let's start at chapter 8 by the discussion of the need for entrepreneurial strategy. Why we need a strategy when we are going to start our business. Let's take a look on some of the considerations, okay, in building or starting up your business. New ventures often face unique strategic challenges if you're going to survive and grow. Whether the firm is an entrepreneurial startup, a small business, or an existing business entering a market or industry for the first time, it must rely on sound strategic principles to be successful. Remember, these activities or entrepreneurial activities can influence a firm's strategic priorities in intensifying the rivalry among an industry's close competitors. Even with a strong initial resource base, entrepreneurs are unlikely to succeed if their business ideas are easily imitated or the execution of the strategy falls short. Not only it is important for a firm to recognize an entrepreneurial opportunity, a firm must understand the competitive dynamics that are at work in the business environment in order to succeed with the growth opportunity. It's important to have an effective competitive strategy. Note that here we focus on entrepreneurial strategy. What are the actions that the firms must undertake to create new ventures in markets? But there's also related issues on how established firms can build or enforce an entrepreneurial mindset as they strive to be innovative in markets in which they already compete. Entrepreneurship is defined as the creation of new value by existing organization or new venture that involves the assumption of risk. Even though entrepreneurial activity is usually associated with startup companies, new value can be created in many different contexts. Startup ventures ideas can come from like current or past work experiences, hobbies, or suggestions by friends or family. For established firms, opportunities can come from existing customers, suggestion by suppliers, technological developments. For all firms, change or chance events can uncover unmet consumer needs. For an entrepreneurial venture to create new value, there are three factors that must be present. If you could take a look on your 8.1, these are the entrepreneurial opportunity, resources to pursue the opportunity, and an entrepreneur or entrepreneurial team willing and able to undertake the opportunity. The entrepreneurial strategy that an organization uses will depend on these three factors. Thus, beyond merely identifying a venture concept, the opportunity recognition process also involves organizing the key people and resources that are needed to go forward. How can we recognize entrepreneurial opportunity? First, let us define the opportunity recognition. So this is the process of discovering and evaluating changes in the business environment. So these are the new technology, social-cultural trends, or shifts in consumer demand that can be exploited. So this recognition opportunity has two phases. As I had mentioned with the definition, first is the discovery and the evaluation. So when we say discovery, it means like becoming aware of the new business concept. And when we say evaluation, we have to analyze the opportunities to determine whether it is viable or feasible to develop a business. With this constant changes in the external environment, it can lead to a new business creation. But the discovery of these new ideas is not enough. They need to be evaluated to find out if they're strong enough to become new ventures. Entrepreneurs must go through a process of identifying, selecting, and developing potential opportunities. The discovery phase refers to the process of becoming aware of a new business concept. Many entrepreneurs report that their idea for a new venture came through some unexpected insight, often based on their prior knowledge that gave them an idea for a new business opportunity. The discovery of new opportunities is often spontaneous and unexpected. Opportunity discovery may also occur as the result of a deliberate research for new venture opportunities or creative solutions to business problems. Viable opportunities often emerge only after a concerted effort. To stimulate the discovery of new opportunities, companies often encourage creativity, out-of-the-box thinking, and brainstorming. A more structured search for entrepreneurial ideas can come from looking at what's bugging you, what frustrations do you have with current products or processes, or from talking to suppliers, customers, or frontline workers to see how needs aren't being met, or borrowing ideas from other markets or industries, or commonly being inspired by history and reviving good ideas that have slipped out of practice but might be valued in the market again. For the evaluation stage, it occurs after an opportunity has been identified, and it involves analyzing this opportunity to determine whether it is viable or is strong enough to be developed into a full-fledged new ventures. Ideas developed by new product groups or in brainstorming sessions are tested by various methods. It includes talking to potential target customers and discussing operational requirements with production or logistic managers. So they are using feasibility study to identify if there's a potential buyer, the resources is good enough, and identify some of the critical success factors. This analysis often leads to the decision whether the business is feasible, viable, profitable, or not good or not qualified to continue the business idea. When we say viable, it has a capacity or capable of working successfully. What are the qualities, okay, to mention the viable opportunities? It must be attractive, it must be achievable, it must be durable, and they must be value creating. Attractive in the marketplace. There must be a market demand for the new product or services. The opportunity must be practical and physically possible, and it should be long enough for the development, and deployment to be successful. And the window of opportunity must be open long enough for it to be worthwhile. And finally, the opportunity, it must be profitable and it has a significant value of margin. If a business concept meets this criteria, two other factors must be considered before the opportunity is launched as a business, like is the resources available, and also the characteristic of the entrepreneur pursuing it. Resources are an essential component of a successful entrepreneurial launch. For startups, the most important resource is usually money because a new firm typically has to expend substantial sum just to start the business. Not only financial resource, but you need human capital and social capital. Some business, okay, some company, they try to rely on government resources to help them strive. They get some connections and they get some financial aid to help them start their business. Entrepreneurial firm must have financing. In fact, the level of available financing is often a strong determinant of how the business is launched and its eventual success. Cash finances are, of course, highly important, but access to capital, such as a line of credit or favorable payment terms with a supplier, can also help a new venture succeed. The types of financial resources that may be needed depend on two factors: the stage of venture development and the scale of the venture. The majority of new firms are low budget startups with personal saving and contributions of family and friends. And it can also appeal to the public through crowdfunding. Okay, you could check the case study, okay, that has been presented by Ricardo, okay, the Kickstarter. And they use crowdfunding wherein they are like getting or collecting a fan, okay, to start a business. Some company tries to get some financial aid through banks and angel investors. So when we say angel investors, these are the private individuals who provide equity investments for seed capital during the early stage of a new ventures. Okay, so these outside investors favor companies that already have a winning business model and dominance in the market niche. Once a venture has established itself as going concern, other sources of financing become readily available, such as commercial loans. They can buy the business. And also, some company try to get finances through venture capitalists. So these are the companies organized to place their investor funds in a lucrative business opportunities. Though venture capitalist entrepreneurs can raise money by selling shares in the new venture, business with extensive development costs or firms on the brink of the rapid growth are likely to turn the growth to be as capitalist. In terms of human, social, and governmental resources, bankers, venture capitalists, and angel investors agreed that the most important asset an entrepreneurial firm can have is strong and skilled management. Managers must needed to have a strong base of experience and extensive domain knowledge, as well as an ability to make rapid decisions and change direction as shifting circumstances may require. Startups with multiple partners are more likely to succeed. New ventures founded by entrepreneurs who have extensive social contacts are also more likely to succeed. In addition, strategic alliances can provide a key avenue for the growth and success. By partnering with other companies through like technology, manufacturing, or retail licensing agreement, young or small firms can expand or give the appearance of entering numerous markets or handling a range of operations. I believe that every government has a project okay, or they provide support for entrepreneurial firms in two key areas like financing, number one, and the second is government contracting. Though government contracting, small businesses have the opportunity to bid on contracts to provide goods and services to the government. Still, there are a lot of business opportunities that the government is giving them. Regarding financing, the Small Business Administration has several loan guarantee programs designed to support the growth and development of entrepreneurial firms. So the government itself does not typically lend money, but underwrites loans made by banks to small businesses. Some government offices offering a free training, counseling, and support services for those companies who are just starting up. Now we are moving to the third factor to consider in entrepreneurship. A while ago, I had mentioned the first factor. Okay, there must be an opportunity. Okay, those opportunities came from experience, hobbies, research, ideas from other people, and by exposure. And also, entrepreneurship requires the right amount of resources for finances, human capital, social capital, and government support. And the third factor to consider entrepreneurship is the people or the entrepreneur, okay, who is willing to pursue the business. Okay, so the leader can needs to have a different or a particular traits, okay, so he must be courageous, okay, he must believe in one's conviction, and he must have an energy to work hard. And particularly the leadership, okay, the leadership quality or traits or personality traits consists of they must have a higher self-confidence, conscientiousness, openness to new experiences, and emotional stability, because starting up a business would really give you a lot of hard time. So you have to have a strong emotional disposition and lower agreeableness. It means that when you're doing a business, you should be cheerful and you are agreeable companion. If you are not cheerful, okay, you're not going to be approached by your customer because of your snobbish attitude. And some of the leadership characteristics of entrepreneurial leaders are they have a vision, okay, they have a dedication and drive, and they are committed to excellence. Vision is an entrepreneur's most important asset because a leader should be able to foresee what should happen in the future. Okay? He should be willing and learn how to anticipate the uncertainties in the business environment. Okay, this is one of the important requirements for transformational leadership, because a transformational leadership wherein a leader could be able to make a decision according to the circumstances, not easily to change direction, but could be able to cope up with the circumstances and able to find a best strategy on directing the company towards its vision. Even though it is impossible or hard to achieve, but still a leader could be able to turn this uh, picture of future into reality. When we say drive, it pertains more on the internal motivation of a leader. It involves the intellectual commitment, your patience, your endurance, your stamina to work in the long hours, and your enthusiasm, okay, to attract other people or uh, to engage okay, business with other people. One of the good traits of a leader, entrepreneurial leader, is that they have a strong public relationship skills. Okay, because they were able to attract and mingle with different kinds of people, rub elbow with different kinds of people. Entrepreneurial leaders, they are committed to excellence, and this is a required for doing business. Okay, when we say commitment to excellence, okay, you are committed to know your customer, You are committed to provide quality goods and services. You pay attention to the details of the customer needs, and there is a willingness to continue learn new things, and you have to connect the dot, okay, of what is needed and what is needed to be accomplished and what you should do. And you also hire people smarter than yourself. I remember one of the vice president of the Jollibee Corporation, one of the leading Filipino fast food chain in our country, is that when he had an interview, he was being asked, what is the secret of your success in your corporation? He mentioned that number one is the willingness, okay, of hiring intelligent people than me. Okay, so that is his answer. Okay, so one of the secret of a successful company is that um, the leader, okay, should have a willingness, okay, to hire people better or good than them. Okay, they are not afraid, okay, to be not to overpower, but they are not afraid to be surrounded by intelligent people than them, because they're going to take advantage with this kind of situation, okay, to learn and not to exploit, but to utilize their intelligence and their potentials, okay, for the success of their company. After knowing the opportunities, the potential resources, and the leadership traits of an entrepreneur, it's about time to craft a strategy. When we say entrepreneurial strategy, these are strategies that enables the skilled and dedicated entrepreneur with a viable opportunity and success to sufficient support resources to successfully launch a new venture. To be successful, new venture must evaluate industry conditions, the competitive environment, and the opportunities in order to position themselves strategically. Okay? But of course, this strategy must not be just the general or the basic strategies that you're going to apply, because everybody is doing the basic strategy. What are those tools and technique? Like five forces and value chain analysis can also be used to guide decision making among new ventures and small businesses. In terms of five forces analysis, there are two factors that is very important. Number one is barriers to new entry and threat of retaliation by incumbent firms. How the firm can compete. Either they could choose strategy upon their entry, are they going to use generic strategies or combination of entry strategies and other generic strategies. One of the most challenging aspects of launching a new venture is finding a way to begin doing business that is quickly generates cash flow, builds credibility, attracts employees, and overcomes the liability of newness. Okay? If you're going to enter into a new business, there are some requirements, okay, for you to successfully implement your entry strategies. Okay? And there are three choices. Either you enter using pioneering strategy, imitative strategy, or adaptive strategy. For pioneering new entry strategy, you're going to create and make your own product, okay, highly innovative product and services. For imitative new entry, you're going to invest in a business that or a product that is already proven and tested, wherein they have already a successful market share, and they have a strong marketing orientation. For adaptive new entry, okay, a firm's entry into an industry by offering a product or services that is somewhat new and sufficiently different to create value for customers by capitalizing on current market trends. For pioneering entry strategy, you should come up with a radical new product or highly innovative service that may change the way business is conducted in an industry. Okay? It should meet customers' need in a unique way, acceptable by the consumer, and it should also contribute to the solution to the problem, okay, in the society, and it is not easily to be imitated by the other company by, like example, making your product patented or applying for the copyright, okay, or intellectual property rights of your product. That is one of the example of the pioneering new entry. The next strategy is the imitative new entry. Imitators look for opportunities to capitalize on proven market successes. An imitation strategy is used when products or services that have been successful in one market niche or physical local can be effectively introduced in another segment of the market. If we're going to take a look on your strategy spotlight number 8.3, it discusses the cost per sleep, wherein a firm using an imitative strategy in the mattress market. Normally, a specific example of this strategy is franchising. Okay, franchising is a type of imitation strategy that often works very well because customers value reliable products that they can trust. The last new entry strategy is adaptive. Most new entrants are somewhere between pure imitation and pure pioneering. So they offer a product or service that is somewhat new and sufficiently different to create new value for customers and capture market share. Those firms are adaptive because they are aware of marketplace conditions, and with that, they conceive entry strategies to capitalize on current trends. Like for example, in Exhibit 8.3 in your book, it provides example of four young firms that pursued adaptive strategies like Under Armour, Mint.com, Plum Organics, and Spunks. An adaptive new entry approach does not involve the reinventing the wheel, nor is it merely imitative either. It involves taking an existing idea and adapting it to a particular situation. Considering the strategic choices that a new entrant has, which new entry is best? Remember, there's none of the strategies is inherently better than other. Okay? Every situation, every condition, every environment, there's a particular strategy that you need to implement. Nevertheless, some research suggests that entering new markets may provide greater opportunities than seeking growth in existing market. Okay, let's move on to another option, the generic strategies for new venture. Okay, in general, new ventures are single business firms using business level strategies. So this talks about how overall low cost, differentiation, and focus strategies can be used by new ventures to achieve a competitive advantage. For overall cost leadership, what the company or the firm is doing is they hold down the cost or making more efficient use of resources than larger competitors. So it's mostly likely less expenses, more income. Therefore, if they have a low cost, they could be able to sell the product at low price. For differentiation, we're in pioneering and adaptive entry strategies involve this kind of degree of differentiation. The new venture is attempting to do something strikingly different, either by using a new technology or deploying resources in a way that changes the way business is conducted. So they're going to offer something that is different enough to be better, or it's an aspect of adaptive entry as well. For small businesses, focus strategies works better because there is a natural fit between the narrow scope and the small size of the firm. If a startup wants to succeed, it has to take business away from an existing competitor. So young firms can often succeed best by finding a market niche where they can get a foothold and make small advances that erode the position of the existing competitors. So from this position, they can build a name for themselves and grow. Now we are done with the first and second entrepreneurial strategy. The first is entry strategy, wherein it covers the pioneering, imitative, and adaptive new entry. For the generic strategies, a firm may use overall cost leadership, differentiation, and focus strategy if they want to start up new business. And the last strategy is according to the research, is one of the best way for new ventures and small businesses to achieve success is with the combination strategy. So by combining the best features of low cost, differentiation, and or focus strategies, young and small firms can often achieve something that is truly distinctive. Entrepreneurial firms are often in a strong position to offer a combination strategy because they have the flexibility to approach situations uniquely. Of course, if you are going to start a new venture or a business, you will be using an armor wherein you had studied how your competitor had played. Every firm has a unique idea, every firm has a unique product, a good services, a good marketing strategy in every aspect of their operation. So this kind of situation can threaten and heighten up the level of competition in the business. That is why if there will be a new entrance, in the category of business, it will threaten, the existing competitors. This will trigger and provoke negative responses from companies that feel threatened. That is why it is very important for a company, to take actions or involve actions, or response to this kind of competition, or within the intense rivalry, with a unique, or with above level of strategies. So this which will explain that the concept of competitive dynamics. So this helps explain why competitive strategies evolve and how to respond. When we say competitive dynamics, there is a need to identify new competitive action. We need to engage in threat analysis, how we're going to cope up with this threat that will give you benefits to make it your opportunities. And it must have the motivation and capability to respond, understand the types of competitive action, and you have to evaluate the likelihood of competitive reaction. So when you do that, that you already have your company or your firm is in a competitive dynamic position. Specifically for new competitive action, so the actions might provoke competitors to act like uh, uh, price cutting, imitating successful products, and expanding production capacity. For threat analysis, the firm is going to be aware of its closest competitors and the kinds of its competitive actions they might be planning. So if you could obviously see the rivalry between Samsung and Apple. So if Apple's going to launch a new product, after a month or a year or just only a couple of months, you will notice that Samsung will release a better feature of Apple product. And as a retaliation, Apple is going to again produce a product, better than what Samsung had been produced. So that is about the result of this competitive dynamics. In Exhibit 8.4, it identifies the factors competitors need to consider when determining how to respond to a competitive act. The graphic depicts the cyclical competitive dynamics model. You could see it describing the cycle of actions. The graphic shows the actions and responses including in a competitive dynamic process. Beginning with a new competitive action, Next is a threat analysis, followed by motivation and capability to respond, then types of competitive action, and then to likelihood of competitive action, which may lead back to the new competitive action. Why do companies launch new competitive actions? So there are several reasons. So if a company enters a market for the first time, it is an attack on existing competitors. In addition, price cutting, imitating successful products, or expanding production capacity are all examples of competitive acts that might provoke a reaction. Companies are motivated to launch competitive challenges because they want to strengthen financial outcomes. They also want to capture some of the extraordinary profits that industry leaders enjoys, and they want their business to grow. Or somehow, one way or another, they want to build their reputation for uh, innovativeness and efficiency, and as well as they want to let them know that they are the best in this arena of kind of category of industry. Competitive dynamics not only comes from new entrants. Beside that, okay, the competition or the intense competition also happen with incumbent rivals because they want to gain strategic alliances. According to the Boston Consulting Group, the author's name is George Stock Jr. and Rob Lashonor. Okay, winners in business play rough and don't apologize for it. If you could see in exhibit 8.5 of your book, page 255, it outlined their 5 strategies for playing hardball. While the big boys are competing, it's possible an entrepreneur might be able to take advantage of some of these activities, like they devastate rivals' profit sanctuaries, plagiarize with pride, deceive the competition, unleash massive and overwhelming force, raising competitors' costs. So, particularly, the examples are written in your book. Okay, so please take time to read them one by one. For example, when Walmart, okay, devastate Best Buy by offering low price extended warranties on home electronics after knowing that their rival, okay, had been profited from extended warranties. For plagiarizing with pride, like Samsung, Samsung had copied a lot of technological, feels like, looks like attributes of Apple, which give them a lot of loss in a patent infringement. But with that lawsuit, okay, Samsung was able to improve its market position. So, and another, a lot of examples that you could take a look on your book. So please take time to read it. Under competitive dynamics, okay, you have to strategize by analyzing the threats of the firm's environment. It involves the assessment of market commonality, wherein you're going to assess whether or not competitors are vying or willing to compete for the same customers and how many markets they share in common. For resource similarity, you're going to assess whether the degree to which rivals on the same types of resources to compete. You have to check how serious is the threat, the level of the threat, okay, that could contribute and affect the firm's performance, and as well as the motivation and capability to respond by asking what type of competitive response is necessary, what resources are needed to fend off uh, a competitive attack. And also have to evaluate if I am willing and able to launch an action and which competitive action should I take. On the one hand, a market rival may be hesitant to attack a company that it shares a high degree of market commonality with because it could lead to an intense battle. On the other hand, once attacked, rivals with high market commonality will be much more motivated to launch a competitive response. So you obviously this you could see with the rivalry of Samsung and Apple. Okay, in the rivalry is really intense. which I think could benefits the consumer because a better product is being produced. After analyzing the competition threats, it's about time that the company should be able to launch a competitive action. It must determine what type of action is appropriate, right actions for the right positions at the right conditions. So these actions are taken according to its resources, capabilities, and its motivation for responding to the competition. There are two broadly defined types of competitive action. Number one, we have strategic actions wherein it represents major commitments of distinctive and specific resources. And the second one is tactical actions that include refinements or extensions of strategies. In page 257 of your book, the details of strategic and tactical competitive action was given. For strategic actions, there are entering new markets, new product introductions, changing product capacity, and merger or alliances. I would like to cite some of the example for entering new markets, specifically the strategies like you could make a geographical expansions, expand into neglected markets. You could target rival markets, and you could target new demographics. For introducing new product, you could have imitate rivals product, address gaps in quality. This is what we are doing in your SWOT analysis. You are going to make the weakness of your competitors as your strength. Okay, you're going to make the threats as your opportunity, okay, to make it your strength. Okay, that is strategic actions. Okay, and for tactical actions, okay, like doing price cutting, like an example is maintain low price dominance, you offer discounts and rebates, you offer incentives, like for example in airlines you provide a free round trip ticket, okay, a one-way ticket for a frequent flyer miles, and you enhance offering to move upscale. And another example is the new distribution channels, specifically like access suppliers directly, access customers directly, develop multiple points of contact with customers, and expand internet presence. So if you want to know more of the specific examples of strategies, take a look on the page 257 of your book for the other examples of strategic and tactical competitive actions. After threat analysis and understanding and knowing the types of action to be taken, okay, the last step is knowing and evaluating your competitors' reactions. If you knew already the reaction of your competitors, it will help you it will help the company to create a plan for future counteracts. How competitor is likely to respond will depend on three actions: market dependence, the competitor's sources, and the reputation of the firm that initiates the actions. When we say market dependence, it pertains to the degree of concentration of firm's business in a particular industry. If a company has a high concentration of its business in a particular industry, it has more at stake because it must depend on its industry market for its sales. Young and small firms with a high degree of market dependence may be limited in how they respond due to resource constraint. The competitor's resources must also be considered. For instance, if the competitor is a small firm, it may be unable to mount a serious attack due to lack of resources. As a result, it is more likely to react to tactical actions such as incentive pricing or enhanced service offerings because they are less costly to attack than a large-scale strategic actions. Okay, and lastly, whether a company should respond to a competitive challenge will also depend on who launched the attack against it. Compared to relatively smaller firms with less market power, competitors are more likely to respond to competitive moves by market leaders. And more so, competitors can also choose not to react at all. Okay, so that is what we mean by forbearance. Okay, so a firm's choice of not reacting to a rival's new competitive action. Okay, and more so, a firm strategy could be both cooperating and competing with rivals. So we call it cooperation or co-opetition. To end up this discussion, I would like to emphasize that entrepreneurial strategy involves a new value creation. Competition is inevitable, but as long as you know how are you going to enter your market, you know how are you going to compete, and you know how are you going to deal with your competitors' reaction, I think that could give you a competitive dynamic advantage in this kind of competition. If you have any further question, just send me a message and I will be much willing to answer all of your queries. So this is your professor, Dr. Christine Joy Simpao. Have a nice day, everyone.